In this video, I cover how I've created a globally diversified investment portfolio that even outperforms a Vanguard FTSE All-World ETF. If you want a cheaper option to the Vanguard FTSE All-World ETF and one that performs better, I show you how to do that. So many savers are looking for simplicity and low effort when building their portfolios, but they don't realize that a very small changes to their portfolio can save them on fees and actually get them greater returns and still have a diversified portfolio. So I'll go through some simple changes you can make to your portfolio that concentrates on reducing fees, keeping the investment returns high, but still maintaining that globally diversified portfolio. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. Before we jump in, I want to cover the assumptions I'm using to develop this simple portfolio. Firstly, the portfolio needs to be globally diversified, spread across the world to reduce risk and capture that growth wherever it happens. I also want it to be stock focused, targeting on long-term growth potential for maximum wealth building. Now we're getting more into the choices you make around the portfolio. I want the ETFs to be accumulating ETFs rather than distributing ETFs. They have to be low fee, keeping more of those hard-earned returns in the ETF. And the final element is that they need to be broker friendly. And if you're going to rebalance a portfolio, that needs to be low or no cost. I'll cover a little bit more about which particular brokers I use to allow this portfolio later in the video. So to illustrate the differences between these portfolios, I'm going to introduce two investment alter egos or personas. Firstly, we have Freddie, Set and Forget. He values simplicity and ease. A simple, diversified investment is the ideal scenario. It aligns with his set and forget mentality. Then we have Oliver, Optimizer. He's willing to put in a little bit of extra effort to optimize his portfolio for maximum returns and minimum fees. So let's see what each of these alter egos will do to have a globally diversified portfolio. We'll start with Freddie's favorite, the simplicity of the VWRP. So Freddie, our set and forget alter ego, likes the ease of the Vanguard FTSE All-World ETF, the VWRP. It covers the entire market with a single investment with a TER of 0.22%.
VWRP ticks all my boxes, globally diversified, easy to manage, and available on most platforms. I can invest whatever amount I like on a monthly basis. What more could I ask for?
Now over to Oliver, my other alter ego, ever the optimizer. He believes he can build a global portfolio that's both cheaper and potentially more rewarding. His strategy involves dividing his investments between two Vanguard ETFs. Firstly, VHVG, Vanguard FTSE Developed World ETF. This tracks developed markets with a low TER of 0.12%. And VFGE, which is a Vanguard FTSE Emerging Market ETF, covering emerging markets with a TER of 0.22%. And by allocating 90% to VHVG and 10% to VFGE, mirroring the approximate global market weights, Oliver can achieve a blended TER of roughly 0.13%. Significant saving compared to VWRP's 0.22%.
By strategically combining these two ETFs, I can maintain global diversification while minimizing my costs. This can have a meaningful impact on my long-term returns.
So why don't we compare Freddie's and Olivia's portfolio and the results over the last few years? So starting with the FTSE All-World ETF, VWRP, it's had a 5-year annual return of 68.15% and a cumulative all-time return of 70.99. Moving on to the FTSE Developed World ETF, we have a 5-year return of 75.33% and cumulative since inception of 79.88. And finally, the FTSE Emerging Markets ETF, VFEG, has a 5-year annual return of 24.79 and since inception 28.81%. And although the figures are slightly different on this graph due to timing, you can see the difference in performance on each of those different ETFs. So I plugged these calculations into a spreadsheet with £100,000 invested, and you can see the returns here, with VWRP FTSE All World giving us £168,500 after 5 years, but with the combination of VFEG, the emerging market, with 10% allocation, and VHVG, the developed market, With 90% allocation, we get a return of £170,276, which is a difference of nearly £1,800. And you may ask, as I did, if I was to rebalance on a regular basis, will this still give me a better return? So I'm comparing VWCE and the FTSE developed and emerging markets with the 90-10 allocation split. I'm on corvu.com, and although the tickers show slightly different, these are the same funds, just domiciled in Europe and therefore priced in euros, but as we're comparing them against each other, that doesn't matter. So here we have the FTSE developed and emerging markets, ETFs, total expense ratio of 0.12 and 0.22 respectively, and allocation of 90% developed, 10% emerging. And the FTSE All-World 0.22 TER. So let's take a look how the blended developed and emerging performs against the All-World. We're starting with no rebalancing, a longer period as we can show on the graph, in GDP, £100,000 invested, and the TER is taken into account in the fund, therefore the reductions from the TER taken into account in the calculations. And you can see the results. For the FTSE All-World, it's 474,744, but for the blended portfolio developed and emerging, 531,510. Now let's see what annual rebalancing does. All of the settings remain the same. All we're doing is changing it to a yearly rebalance. And the outcomes are, of course, no change for the FTSE All-World, but for the blended portfolio, there's an increase of around £6,000, going to £537,000. You might be surprised, like I was, the differences that those small savings can make over time. The returns of a portfolio with a TER of 0.22% compared to a portfolio of 0.13% is considerable. And over years, it will add up to thousands of pounds. That's the magic of compounding, small savings snowballing into substantial differences in your wealth over the long term.
Okay, Oliver, you've convinced me. Maybe a little bit of optimization isn't such a bad thing after all.
With the tools that we have on hand today, building a global portfolio doesn't have to be complicated. Whether you embrace Freddie's set and forget approach with VWRP or opt for Oliver's optimized strategy with VHVG and VFEG, the key is to start investing early, stay consistent, and keep your costs low. If you want to copy the pie that I've set up that holds 90% VHVG and 10% VFEG, then you can go to the description in this video, and I've linked Trading 212, and I've set up a pie that tracks that particular portfolio. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and click the notification bell to be advised of new videos as they're released. And if you're interested in content around investment strategies like the 3-bucket model and how I manage my portfolio, you can follow the link above to a video that I've created around that topic. And finally, please comment below if you've been inspired to review your portfolio allocation. I'd love to hear about that in the comments below.